also, we will talk about one of the things that's happening, and we've had these stories before, where we've talked about land grabs in this country, what is happening to African Americans in many of these places. Well, ProPublica has a particular story that deals with a variety of state universities uprooting black communities. Right. We've seen this all around the country. And we're going to talk to the reporter in this case right here as well. And so it's amazing, again, when you start hearing what happened to black folks, and now we are hearing the results of that. So people talk about black wealth and lack thereof. A lot of that because black land was straight up stolen, the communities were broken up, and homes were sold. Folks, you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Be sure to support us in what we do. Joining our Bring the Funk fan club, your dollars make it possible for us to do what we do. And so when you give, it goes to support our independent journalism, how we broadcast, our staff, you name it. Send your check and money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Next on the Black Table, with me, Greg Carr, working under the constant threat of violence. Nearly 50 bomb threats over dozens of HBCU campuses. In 2022, we'll talk to our HBCU Master Teacher Roundtable about the stress, the strain, the frustrating lack of answers, and real community-grounded solutions to the threat of violence we face at HBCUs today. Join us for the Black Table, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hi, I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. I don't play Sammy, but I could. Or I don't play Obama, but I could. I don't do Stallone, but I could do all that. And I am here with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
ProPublica and the Virginia Center for Investigative Journalism did a series detailing how Virginia universities have pushed out black families, sometimes using eminent domain to make room for dormitories, parking lots, laboratories, and other facilities. This process widened the racial gap in home ownership and the loss of black-owned land. One Virginia lawmaker is pushing for a task force to examine the damage that was done to black communities and how much the state universities have displaced African Americans. Delegate Delores McQuinn joins me now from Richmond. So glad to have you here, Delegate McQuinn. This is, again, I don't think people really understand how significant this is, because when we talk about black wealth, we talk about wealth in this country, it has largely been through home ownership. being able to be passed from one generation to the next. And so when you talk about eminent domain, you're not necessarily getting fair market value for that particular land, and you don't have the ability for it to grow and prosper, build up equity, and not be able to pass on.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right, Roland. And let me first of all say thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for all the work that you have done and how you make certain that the unadulterated truth is told about history. But you're absolutely right. For Black people, land ownership was one way of establishing, or a pathway to establishing generational wealth. And that opportunity was taken from us as land was unjustly confiscated from us. And, you know, the truth about the matter, and people say, how did you get engaged in this or involved in this? Oh, I was going from community to community, talking to African Americans and hearing the same story over and over again about land being unfairly confiscated, they getting unfair market price for land that was taken from them for generations that had passed. And I am like, you know, this is once again a miscarriage of justice. And I'm in a position now that I could possibly do something about it, and I refuse to dismiss it. My intention is to continue this conversation. I want to thank those who have brought it to the forefront, and I want to help by certainly putting in legislation to create the task force to look at this particular issue and to see how widespread it is. And of course, I already know that it was very widespread, but we need to think about how do we begin to repair some of the damage that has been done to Black families in Virginia. And you know, you and I both know across this country, the same thing has happened.
Well, absolutely. And the reality is, in many cases, these are state universities. And so
yes,
we're talking about the state action here. And if it shows that it was used in a negative way, those Black families should be compensated.
Absolutely. In many ways, you know, you're talking about the conspiracy issue. I mean, you had legislators, you had lawmakers, you had individuals with college presidents. It was almost a cahoot that people were in, and you know, to go about again unfairly confiscating this land, and then not thinking that African Americans deserved you know, fair market price for it. But not only that, they deserve to have their land that many of them have worked extremely hard for, and so that they could pass it on to the next generation. One of the things that we have had in our favor, as we looked at all we have gone through from enslavement of Africans through the Reconstruction period to Jim Crow, one thing we've had in our favor, if you had something, the thought was we could pass it on to the next generation. And so many families did not have that opportunity because of what universities did, but not only universities, you know, the Army, you had airports. I mean, any of these institutions that were able to go in and again, through eminent domain, take this property from Black families, they did that, and including my family. And so what can we do about it? Well, first of all, we certainly need to sit down, you know what, at the table, along with many of these individuals who are now seated at places that could bring about a paradigm shift. We need to sit down, have the conversation, and then move forward in terms of how do we bring some form of resolution to what has happened in the past. And not only for this, but other issues as it relates to the way African Americans have been treated and been unable to do anything about people violating you in this manner.
Questions from the panel. I'll start with you, Matt.
Okay, so Delegate McQuinn, thank you for doing this work. I have a case very similar to this, not in the university context, but this happens to our people around the country. So my question to you is this. I know you're putting together a task force, and presumably that task force will have ideas on how to the reparative remedy. But my thought is this, my question is this. What is the thought about how to compensate those who, for instance, had, their houses purchased at below what the appraisers came in, significant percentages, as opposed to those who have lost in perpetuity, basically the equity on property? Because it seems like the difficult thing here is going to be how to figure out how to repair exactly what happened in the past and then the inestimable effects of that going forward. So what thoughts about how the task force may be advised on how to develop a reparative remedy here? Because it seems to be difficult depending on the time and how you frame it.
Yeah, you know what, you're absolutely right. We know that it's going to be a challenge looking at this, and again, seeing how do you bring restoration, how do you repair or reparation. But I think the first step is the direction that we're moving in the state of Virginia of establishing, again, the task force that will look at how families were uprooted, when it happened, how it happened, and then procedurally, there are a multiplicity of things that I think we could start doing in terms of going down this road to bring, again, some restorative justice. There are certainly scholarships. There are ways of, and I know the land may not be able to be replaced, but houses, and making certain that families that have not had access to having these certain kind of opportunities. How do we look at how they have been impacted by it, how generations have been impacted by it, and then again through the task force, many ways of addressing this issue. And I know we're going to have to go back generations, but I think the first step is let's sit down and let's begin to have this conversation, and then make certain that the universities they're at the table. Other legislators are at the table. People on the federal level are at the table. One of the things that I know is being done, that has been done now, President Biden, who's put in $1 billion to look at the way communities have been divided through constructions, through highways that have gone through various communities. Those are, and it may very well be some opportunities there with those funds that he has certainly put in place to be used, this pool of money, to reconnect families and reconnect communities. So I think there are many ways. We have not sit down. This task force has not been established yet, but I am certain, just based on individuals that I've already talked to, they're going to come with many of suggestions in terms of how we address these particular issues.
Suzette?
Thank you again, Delegate McQuinn, for what you're doing. This sounds to me like in the South African model, the Truth, Justice, and Reconciliation commissions that were held, that we need to put into the record of state government what exactly happened. That way we can start moving towards a remedy. My question to you is, what do you think the schools' positions have been or will be? I know in cases such as Georgetown, where they had explicit ties to owning slaves and other institutions, there are several here in Virginia, public and private. I've seen UVA mentioned, Old Dominion, and others. Have they put out any responses? Are they open to? I've seen that one president was talking about walking through the old neighborhood. Okay, thank you for the walk. But what are we really doing, and where are they? Are they kind of moving ahead on this issue without the task force? Or what is their current position?
There are some promises here that I think promising, initiative. On Monday, one of the administrators from the university came to me and said, Delegate McQuinn, what you are exploring, we stand with you. As an administrator at the university, we want to do whatever we can to help. And they did inform me that they were already looking into some things, but they said the decisions have been made to make certain that they're at the table to help bring about some kind of resolution. And so that to me is relatively promising, but it remains to be seen what will be done. I'm going to take them at their word, and I'm going to certainly hold everybody accountable in terms of helping us to get to a place where these families feel that there's some kind of restitution.
Michael?
All right, Delegate Delores McQuinn, thanks for your effort in this. And this is an example of how history is leading towards legislation to help repair this type of damage. I know this is a work in progress, and there have been a series of articles from ProPublica and the Virginia Center for Investigative Journalism. But have you heard any estimates about the dollar amount in lost land value that has been stolen from African Americans and maybe lost wealth? Any estimates? And secondly, very quickly, what has been the response in Virginia, where we know in August 1619 those 20-odd Africans were taken into Virginia? What has been the response from Virginians surrounding this revelation?
Well, you know, let me answer the first question. I mean, the last question first. The response has been good. The response has been good. And a part of this came about because of families that were represented that are in the district in which I represented, who was bringing to me information about how land was taken, information about them owning land, and even up into the early 2000s, how some land that was a part of the family's land that had been since the emancipation of slavery, and all of a sudden, because resources was not made available and they didn't have the paperwork that they needed, the deeds to the land, that the land was sold. And so this is even something that even within the last 20 years have been happening. And there, you know, many folks have called. They are happy and excited about what we're doing, and they're waiting in anticipation, first of all, to tell their story, but also to make certain that they support these efforts. And we're going to need support from the community about this, for this. But I think that in Virginia, many communities are ready and they're willing to step up into the plate and to share what they can in terms of what has happened. One of the other things that I have done as it relates to this, that was in 2020, a commission was created to look at slavery, the issue of slavery, and the present day impact on African American communities and African Americans, whether it was economically, in housing, in education, every aspect of our lives. And a report will come out actually in January. So this is some ongoing work, and land and housing has been a part of this. And so I'm hoping that that report that comes out will also help lead us or give us some information and support in this effort for this commission. So we're well on our way.
Absolutely. Keep up the good work.
I think Matt had another question.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. Thank you, Delegate McQuinn. Outside of the task force, do you have any plans to make any maybe legislative amendments to Virginia's process of eminent domain? Because the reason I ask that is a lot of times this is done obviously through eminent domain, and eminent domain just requires you show a government purpose. And most often the government is not able to show that purpose. Here, the public universities, but the land is nonetheless lost. So what, if any, plans do you have to legislatively affect it with a change to eminent domain that may be more protective to disadvantaged, marginalized groups, anything to that effect?
I have not. This will be based on some of the preliminary discussion. I think eminent domain will be certainly one of the components of what has been used in the past. One of those that particular element that's been used to help again unjustly confiscate and unfairly confiscate land. We will be looking at that particular issue. So that's been a part of the discussion as well. We have not come to any decision yet, but certainly that has been discussed.
Thank you.
All right, Matt, that's it?
That's it. No further.
I'm just messing with you. All right, Delegate Delores, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. Keep up the good fight, and let's hopefully our people can get some justice, delayed justice.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir, and thank you for this opportunity.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much.